everybody! True story. I was at the post office today shipping out some leather work. And there was a lady in front of me. She's about like 18 years old. She had on a college hoodie. I couldn't make out. It mentioned college at the bottom, but I couldn't make out which college it was. It was a maroon hoodie. Easily 18 years old, and she's handing the package over to the lady. Tiny package. She said, "Yeah, my mother gave this to me to ship." And the postal lady said, "There's no postage on this package." I kid you not, easily 18 years old. She said, "What does that mean?" And she said, "Well, you need to pay for postage on this. There's no postage on it." It almost sounds like I'm making this up, but I'm not. Look at my eye. She said, I don't understand what you mean." This is a college-age lady. And she didn't understand you got to pay for postage. We're not talking like 10 or 12 years old here, so oh my God, it took every ounce of my strength to hold back. What I really wanted to say is she finally whipped out a debit card, and she went to pay, and the debit card was declined. I wanted to say to her, I said, I couldn't make out the university. And I said, "You need to get a refund on that education at your college." That's just, it sounds like, it's just, man, oh man, oh man, man. Yoo-wee. I don't know what they're teaching these days, but it's obviously not teaching. It kind of leads into this video. By the way, I made this. This is one of a kind. Tell me what you think. This is actual genuine Swiss military. There's only one of these, and I'm only making one of them, so if you're interested, let me know. It's Swiss Alpenflage, which basically means camouflage of the Alps. The Germans actually first came up with it, but this is genuine Swiss military backpack, and I retrofitted the inside of the backpack to hold a large laptop. It's genuine buffalo leather. It's triple stitched, and I also too reinforced all the stress points on the backpack. It was already tough to begin with, but you can like put your battery charger back here and everything, and your laptop against your back where it would be safe. And it just immediately popped into my head. Turned out really cool. So you can carry like your sandwiches and your battery, your laptop charger back here. There's 3 pockets. And of course your laptop goes on the inside there. It's a backpack. Yeah, this is a very unusual type of camouflage. It's called Alpenflage. I don't know if you've ever heard of it before. You can look it up. Really hard to find these now. They still exist out there, but man, it took like 4 hours to do this. I thought it was really cool. Somebody doesn't get it off of me, just email me. My email is in the description below. I'll keep it myself. Wanted to talk about a key important, actually this is incredibly important. This is something that you need to learn, and it'll make your life a whole lot better. I'm all about practicality in life, not mere theory. I'm going to give a couple things that these are applicable to. People are actually talking about the things that I talk about on other YouTube videos, and I really, really don't like watching other YouTube videos other than like harp music and classical music. I just, there's not, I don't want to hear anybody else engaging in logomachy, which is a fancy word for lip flapping. There's a great word everybody should learn, logomachy, about what they think about what I do or don't say about field theory. And of course, they usually get things wrong. I don't care if somebody doesn't like what I say, but at least get what I say correct, and they usually get it wrong. One of the things that I keep seeing over and over again since I've been on YouTube for many, many years, and I read every comment, is that I keep seeing the same thing over and over again, and it is like less than 1 time per year, and it sounds like it's an exaggeration, but it's not, where people actually give evidence, substantiation, rationality behind a rebuttal that they give. They'll comment, they'll give no evidences, no substantiation, baseless claims, they'll restate their claim, or they'll make an appeal to an authority. I don't know if you know this or not, but in formal debate, there's no such thing as an authority. There's facts, logic, evidences, and rationality, and there's experts and novices, but there's no such thing as an authority. The best that these people do is that they parrot what they were taught, if they were taught anything at all. People literally can't think. When I've said before a million times that there's a shortcut to superior education, I literally meant that. I got a recommended book reading list below. Hello, I'll edit that out of this video. Of a shortcut to superior education. And education, as I've said countless times also, is about building a toolbox in your head, not filling your head with useless empirical facts. Making baseless claims with no logic or evidences is, it makes yourself or anybody else, people that leave these kind of comments, look foolish. People are not taught how to think in school or college. You're like, go home and read chapters 5 through 11 and we'll have a multiple guess test. That's the total opposite of an education, and I know all about the history of the education system, the Rockefeller. They don't want people that think. I know that. Someone's going to leave that in the comments, say, you're not supposed to think, you're just supposed to be a good enough worker for the assembly line, and I know that's exactly what they want. I know all of that, but it's destroying society, and it's destroying people in general. It's kind of like, that 18-year-old college girl. Yeah, she didn't understand what postage was. She might not have looked, and she said, she could have said something. There's no postage on this letter here. Like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't look. My mother gave it to me. Like, okay, that's okay. And she says, I don't know what you mean. She didn't understand what postage. This is what parrots do. People that regurgitate stuff that they read in college and whatnot. And I'm quoting Richard Feynman. That, by the way, that's the hero of quantum. I've had countless hundreds of thousands of people look at that 7.5-minute video that's all over YouTube. Just type in Feynman Explains Magnets. So this is a guy that, the relativists and the folks of quantum look up to as the god of quantum theory. I said, go watch this video. He's asked what magnetism is. He talks about an old woman slipping on the ice, and anybody with 2 brain cells, it only takes 2, could look at that and like, man, this guy doesn't know anything. And it's okay not to know something. I've also, too, pointed out that nobody goes looking for the answers to things that they already think they know the answers to, and that's, of course, true. The issue that we have with parrots in society is that these people don't think, they don't ask questions, they parrot words of quote-unquote authority, and there's no authority. Every branch of science, and I hate using, it's science! They use that like some sort of statement of religion. It's always been proven wrong. They always, any Akademia Nauk, as they would say in Russian, Academy of Sciences, Akademia Nauk, they've always thought they were right, and they were always given a few decades or more, sometimes less, proving that they were wrong. Like, oh yeah, we were wrong. Yeah, sorry about that. Our bad. The fact that people actually give authority to these people that don't deserve authority, like something is set in stone, is completely ludicrous. When you tell them that they're wrong and you give them evidences, what they do is they get angry and they fling poo at you. Not literally, sometimes literally. They never present any evidences, logic, or wisdom, or rationality behind the claims that they make. Making baseless claims is senseless. It's like, well, I understand that's your position, and you may not have any empirical evidence for it, especially when it comes to aspects of metaphysics, but if you can provide rationality and logic behind it, you don't have to provide objective evidences, because there are no objective evidences for metaphysics. The same is true of the ether. A bunch of people actually gave me a link to a Goonie bird talking about the ether, and I know he was quoting me about the ether, and he kept saying, point to it! You need to be, he actually says 2 things. He says, draw the ether. Which is ridiculous. Something that is anti-Cartesian or non-Cartesian, take your pick. It is not an object. You want to point to it, because if you can point to it, it's an object, and therefore it wouldn't be the ether by definition. And if you could draw it, then it would have a Cartesian value of mass and magnitude, and once again, it would not be the ether by definition. The point is, and people need to learn about debate, and there's a neat little book out there. It's called Great Language, Great Lessons, and Great Lessons of Learning, I think it is, and it comes with a bunch of MP3 audio files about debate and logical fallacies like straw man fallacy, ad hominem fallacies, on and on and on. And you can just listen to the audio when you're laying in the back of your bed. It's great. They still have it on Amazon. I looked recently. If you learn about this, you'll be a lot sharper person. Learning about fallacies, you can defend yourself against countless evils in this world. And if you just read at least a couple times, a handful of works, you know, we're talking about less than a dozen books and learning about fallacies. You can have a way better education than anybody with a PhD. You'll have a critical mind that's like a steel trap. This is way better than any college education. I went to college. I went to 2 colleges. People are lazy now. You know, it's all about working smarter, not harder. Why would you want to waste time and endless money and student loans and the rest of it when you could get all this stuff free in a much, much shorter period of time? Because life is short. And, you know, regurgitating facts doesn't help anybody. And it certainly doesn't help you. Here's the facts. If you can't debate it, you don't understand it. Furthermore than that, if you can't debate it with ease, like you're sliding on hot butter, if you can't debate it with ease, you either don't believe it or you don't understand it, or you're contradicting yourself over and over again. You're tripping over your own feet. And a lot of people do that. And I'll give you a couple examples. I've been debating these topics among countless others for decades now. And I was watching that other video by that Goonie bird, and people were saying, well, he was asking if you could point to the ether. You need to be able to point to the ether. It's like, well, you can't point to the ether. You point to an ether modality. But you can't draw it either. I mean, it contradicts the very definition of the ether. And they're self-contradictory. They say, well, does light require a medium? They say, well, it doesn't. Well, the answer is light is a perturbation modality of that medium. So yes, light requires a medium, and it is a modality of that medium. If you say light has no medium, which they do, because they deny a medium, i.e. the ether, and they're self-contradictory, I'll get to that very quickly here. They must necessitatively posit that it's a particle, or they'll ultimately always admit that it's energy. But they've never defined energy. There's no branch of science that ever defined energy. That's not my opinion, that's a fact, by the way. Same thing I've been debating amongst the so-called Buddhists, and I mean so-called literally. He said, does Buddhism deny the soul? It's like, well, we're going to debate what Buddhism did or didn't teach, would actually have to refer to the doctrine, the Digha-Nikaya, Majjhima-Nikaya, Gautara-Nikaya, Kudaku-Nikaya, and the Samyutta-Nikaya. The only pre-sectarian corpus that exists, and that's an important word there, pre-sectarian. In other words, for that stuff, that latter-day stuff came along. Like, an analogy for that of Christianity, for example, would be before Protestantism, before Catholicism. We're talking about the original article here, not that latter-day stuff that came later. What's the original teachings? Lacking a time machine, we actually have to refer to the oldest and or pre-sectarian materials there. And of course, Buddhism never denied the soul. Sure it does. Tata nada. No, actually there's 556 occurrences of that word. I'm the foremost expert in the entire world on that particular term, and we'll debate that till the cows come home, and I'll always, always, always win that argument. Not in my own mind, I mean I will literally win it. You know, it's a common via negativa and Eddy methodology for objective denial regarding the soul. You know, rupa nata vedam nata, you know, this is not the soul, that's not the soul, on and on and on. 22 things are not the soul. That is teaching via negativa. You know, these are the things that are not the soul. Anywhere, there's never made a position of a negation of the soul. Well, sure, he taught against eternalism. It's like, no, let's back it up. The Pali term is sasaravada. It's literally sasara, and vada, or doctrine of. It literally means eternalism, and that is specifically in another ancient term is called kamayana. In other words, you're on the wheel and you go round and round and round forever and ever and ever and ever. The only thing you do is hope for a better next life or a better this life. That's perpetualism of false identification of the psychophysical being, or sat. And that's eternalism. Perpetualism. Perpetualism. Got a frog in my throat there. Not literally, of course. Perpetualism, of course, is kamavada. So I destroy that one. These people will always resort to ad hominem. They never have evidences, facts, or wisdom, or logic, or rationality to back up anything that they say. The only thing they're doing is parroting the stuff that they were told to believe in. Go home and read this and memorize it and regurgitate it for the test. They literally don't know how to think, and you'll encounter this all throughout life. And if you can train your brain to think, you can end run around these people like, they're driving an old Buick and you're driving a hot rod. I used to have a little hot rod. It was fun yet dangerous. You could see the old folks driving slowly and you weave right through them. You do the same thing with having a sharp mind. Getting back to light, having a medium. I'll ask you to point to the ether. And there's ways to destroy these people because they're so, not literally, they're so inconsistent. And you say, well, let's use another analogy here. No one denies emotions. You deny emotions exist? Yeah, of course you do. We'll point to an emotion. You love your mother? Sure I do. Why don't you point to your, draw out your love for your mother. And I don't mean draw a heart shape or, a drawing of you like a kid would do of you hugging your mama. I said, draw it out or point to it. What do you mean I can't point to it? Oh, I thought you said if you can't point to it, it doesn't exist. And of course, exist means existence. Exist literally means objective. That's what that term in English means. It's like, well, we're talking about objects here. You want me to speak objectively of something that is by very definition subjective, and that, of course, is irrational logical. I'm asking you to, you deny the ether here. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You can't point to it and you can't draw it. Well, I'm talking about your love for your mother or happiness or sadness or anything else, not the person exhibiting the emotion. We could all point to those, but that's not the emotion itself. Aren't emotions an energy disturbance of the mind, either good or bad, one way or another? Sure they are, sure they are. Why don't you point to mind? No, not the brain. No. Not that stuff between your ears. That's consciousness. And even then you can't point to it. Well, consciousness is made up of energy. Everybody knows that. I gotta whip out. I gotta pretend to be one of these pseudo-intellectuals. Hey, everybody knows that consciousness is energy. Yeah. It's like, well, you can't point to it and you've never defined the term energy. They keep accusing me of conceptualizing, well, this thing's easy as concept. Keep calling energy a concept. Well, everything is either of mind or from energy, but they've never defined energy. They say, well, you can't define the ether. What they mean is objectively. You can't point to it. There's a recent video, someone said, yeah, let me point to the ether. You can't do it. Draw it for me. I will do that as soon as you point to happiness or sadness or the love of your mama. For example, assuming you love your mama. Most people do, at least sane, rational people do. Yeah. If you can't do that, then you can't do that either. Well, if you can't point to it, you can't draw it, it doesn't exist. You just created this crazy concept. They can't define rest. The actual definition of ether is non-Cartesian pure potential. They can say it is anti-Cartesian or non-Cartesian. It is rest, and people can't wrap their mind around rest. So kind of the crude analogy I use would be the seeds at the center of an apple. Center of an apple, there are these 5 hollow spots, kind of like the center of that tangerine the other day. Yeah? Well, there's nothing there. At the center of an apple, there is no apple. What do you find there? Well, you find these hollow spots. What inside of those hollow spots in the center of an apple? Little seeds. It would be kind of a almost totally perfect analogy for the ether. That would be rest energy. Because within those seeds is the potential of a large apple tree. Or like an acorn. A little acorn, you could nurture it and feed it water and sunlight and photosynthesis, yada yada. You'll get 1 million board foot of lumber or whatever. You have a whole forest of, given enough time, of course, of oak trees. What is potentiality is not actuality. They can't wrap their minds around rest. Well, the ether doesn't exist, it's been disproven. The ether has never been disproven. There's a million different theories of ether. These people are so inconsistent within themselves. They don't have a sharp mind. They don't know how to think. No branch of science, and this is not my opinion, it's a fact, ever defined the term energy. They also, too, never defined a field. Of course, what a field is an ether perturbation modality, kind of like ice, water, and steam, or different modalities of water. or temperature and pressure modalities of water. This is not a real pipe, by the way, you know. This is totally fake, in case you're wondering. The ether, of course, is energy at rest, kind of like our seed analogy at the center of an apple. Sheer potential. Gravity is not force, for example. That's increasing inertia and acceleration, and the erasure of space. These people will point out what they perceive to be a splinter in your eye. Well, they got a whole giant pile of logs in their own eye. I am completely consistent in everything I've said about field theory, black holes, the ether. Light does require a medium, and of course light is a modality of that medium. So, excuse me, you think light doesn't require a medium? That's true, that's true. Light doesn't require a medium. It is a photon. It is a wave-particle duality quantum packet of energy. Oh, wait a minute. You can't use that word energy because you can't define energy. Okay, I won't use the word energy. So according to you, light is an emission, a particle, a wave, and a wave particle. You know, totally illogical and inconsistent. It breaks Occam's razor. You know, every branch of science will tell you that light slows down when it goes into meets with water and glass. That's true, that's true, that's true. And they will all actually tell you, so well, how does light speed back up when that disturbance leaves water or glass? Of course, it's not leaving. The medium disturbance is propagating into and out of that medium without breaking the law of conservation of energy. Well, what it does is when light reaches the edge of the glass, just before it leaves it, they actually say this, by the way. It pushes against the glass and it speeds back up again. Hey, what? Now that is some irrational, illogical, you know, nonsense. That is the stuff that these kids are taught by, you know, oh, I have a PhD in physics. Yeah, you do, but all it means is that you're parroting all the people that came before you and you passed enough multiple guess tests. This is the reason why doctors are the second leading cause of people, you know, getting buried 6 feet under, right after cancer. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat there. Should have drank some water before making this video. They're illogical, they're inconsistent, they'll create ad hominem fallacies, and they'll talk about you creating concepts. Well, you can't point to the ether and you can't draw it, like some video recently pointed to. So you want me to point to something which means it is objective, that is not objective by definition. Can't point to it, can't draw it. You can't point to your love for your mother, you can't draw it either. You know it exists. Well, it doesn't exist by the true definition of the term exist. I'm 100% logical and consistent in everything I've said on field theory, light, the ether, magnetism. I'm very proud of the fact that I'm the first critter on this planet to figure out what magnetism is, how it works, why the way it is, you know, what is polarity, the misunderstanding thereof, the complete erasure of the ancient principle, which is completely incorrect, of so-called magnetic attraction, which is not based on magnetism at all. Mother Nature is really, really, really simple. It follows Occam's razor, and simplicity is divinity, and that's the only way nature works. Everything is force and motion, inertia and acceleration. Everything is either centrifugal divergence or centripetal convergence. Everything in the universe is either capacitance, resistance, permeability, or permittivity. And that sounds complicated, but that's just a slightly more fancy way of saying everything is field pressure mediation. What's field pressure mediation? That's no different than saying when you take a shower, the pressure mediation of gravity makes the water flow down the drain. Simplex pressure mediation. Whereas the plumbers say stuff goes downhill. I'll let you figure out what stuff means. These people are inconsistent within themselves. I will debate any of them any time on the ether. But if you want me to draw it, or if you want me to point to it, there it is, right there, there's the ether. I'm not going to do it because you can't. That's the very contradiction. You start out with people, what's the ether made of? Well, if it were made of something, it would be consubstantial and composite would also, too, inherently contradict the principle of what the ether is. All of this gets around the idea that humanity suffers from a lot of mental defects. They think that light has a speed and light's an emission, and they can't wrap their brain, around rest. People are not taught how to think. I'm telling you right now, if you learn, especially, your kids, have them learn chess so they can think several moves ahead. Teach them about fallacies. The great language courses, great learning courses, I think it was called. It comes with a bunch of MP3 files. There's only about a dozen books that they need to read, like Plotinus, the Pedagogian, a few others, Walter Russell. Small stack of books, about like this. They have a way sharper mind than 99.9% of the people out there. Excuse me. It is a shortcut to superior education. Doesn't everybody want that? I mean, do you really want to spend, waste your life memorizing garbage? Does anybody want to do that? I need to pass this test. Don't you want to have a sharper mind so you can outthink, Sally Joe and Larry Sue that you live around? I can outthink them. Yeah, but they have a PhD. Yeah, they have a PhD. You know what? They're not smart. They've memorized a lot of facts, but they can't think clearly. Nikola Tesla talked about this. He talked about people that could think deeply but not clearly. He said you have to be sane to think both deeply and clearly. Sorry, I didn't drink a glass of water before this video. Humble apologies. After 8,500 videos, you fail every once in a while, so I apologize for that. What did I have? Maybe it was that orange, that tangerine that I had. Could have been that. Anyway, I'm quite proud of this. If nobody is interested in it, I'm going to keep it myself, this Alpenflage backpack for holding a laptop. If you ever want to contact me, my information is in the description below. Any donation is always warmly welcome. And that's solid brass buckle, by the way. I already put my laptop in here and tested it. It's great. It's genuine Swiss military, called Swiss Alpenflage. Pretty cool. At least I think it's cool. It is a very funky kind of camo, though, isn't it? It's funkadelic. Yep. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in live stream. Goodbye.